Don't open that. Don't open that.
Fire rescue, what's your address?
Young man beating up a woman across the street.
Okay, are they outside or in a house?
It's in a garage.
Okay, can you tell if he has any weapons?
I think he had a knife, but I'm not positive.
Okay, can you tell if she's injured or he's injured?
Say again?
Are either of them injured? Can you tell from where you are?
Yes, there's a girl laying on the ground. He beat her up. I ran over there. I'm bleeding profusely here at the moment.
Okay.
August 2016, a concerned neighbor, Jeff Fisher, attempted to put a stop to a brutal attack. His neighbors, John Stevens III and Michelle Mishkin, were outside in their garage when 19-year-old Austin Harrouff began attacking them. When Jeff heard the screaming, he went to investigate, but little did he know that he would be headed into the house of horrors. Jeff dashed across the street and into his neighbor's garage, where he found Harrouff beating Michelle's motionless body. Harrouff warned Jeff that he didn't want to have any part in this, but being the good neighbor he is, Jeff attempted to put a stop to this attack. This resulted in Harrouff stabbing Jeff multiple times before running off into the house. Jeff hobbled back into his home, where he would then call 911. Officers arrived within minutes. Michelle Mishkin laid dead on the garage floor. Next to her body, Harrouff straddled the body of John Stevens, eating pieces of the dead man's flesh. When officers drew their weapons and began to order Harrouff to surrender, he ignored them and continued to rip pieces of flesh off the body. Takesta officers' attempts proved futile against the deranged teenager.
Was he saying anything?
He was growling. I pop him in the back. My countdown on my taser started at 5, 4, 3, 2. When it hit 2, I realized it's not working. I yanked my cartridge off. I shocked myself. Ran back around Gracie on this side. And then I kicked him in his head, trying to get him off of the mat.
Let me stop and interrupt you. During this time that you were here, did you ever see Gracie utilize her taser?
No.
Okay.
She was at gunpoint.
Okay.
I kicked him in his head. Head came off for a second, and he went right back in and took a deeper grapple hold. I started stomping on his head in that fashion, trying to get his head off the guy's neck, trying to get him off of him.
Eventually, several officers were able to pull Harrouff off of John's body. Due to the teenager's stocky build, they were unable to cuff both of his hands with a single pair of handcuffs, forcing the officers to link two pairs together. Austin Harrouff was finally sequestered. But his antics did not end there. Harrouff began screaming at the officers.
When I finally was able to separate him, he was yelling, "I'm eating people, kill me."
The suspect was saying that?
Screaming.
And that's before he was handcuffed or as he was...
As I finally was pulling him off of him, he was screaming, "Kill me! I'm eating people, kill me!"
John and Michelle were deeply in love, and up to this dreadful day, they had been married for 19 years. Neighbors described them as kind and lovely. By 2016, the pair were retired. They would often ride around the neighborhood in their golf cart with their dog Rebel, or sit in the garage with the TV on, kicking back with a cold beer and waving to neighbors. Austin Harrouff was 19 at the time. He had no prior record and did very well in school. His close friend Sam described Austin as a jokester, goof, and all-around good guy to hang around. Harrouff's decline began when his fraternity brothers began to pressure him into drinking. He soon stopped and instead opted for other illicit substances such as Molly, LSD, mushrooms, Adderall, and more. Growing up, Harrouff was known to have intermittent depressive episodes, but in July 2016, his highs and lows would become more frequent and far more detrimental. Hallucinations were not a new thing for Harrouff. During his life, he suffered from bouts of sleep paralysis, where he saw monsters, demons, and more.
You said there were two incidences. One you didn't remember about the devil talking to you with regard to your friend, but then there was the time when you said you were getting really serious and your friend just felt uncomfortable around you. Were you aware that you had made a shift in your thinking that was making people uncomfortable?
Not really. Like, I was aware that something like, I was aware that I became more serious in things, but I wasn't aware that I was pushing people away, and I didn't know it was affecting my relationships with my friends, or with my friend.
Mm-hmm. But you were aware that you hadn't been spending as much time with him, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And when you were making these videos that you were putting up on YouTube, you said you were doing voices and stuff, just acting silly, because, you know, like people do on YouTube. That wasn't like being possessed or something. You were just acting silly in that regard.
Harrouff would later be taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. Wade Harrouff, Austin's father, reported that his son's liver and lungs were failing from a possible chemical poisoning. Detectives believe that Harrouff drank an unknown liquid from John and Michelle's garage at some point during the slaying of the couple. Dr. Harrouff also reported that he found a trail of blood leading up to the home where the murder happened, proving that his son had been harming himself long before he attacked anybody. One of his pre-crime injuries involved Harrouff attempting to cut off his own thumb. Investigators believe that Harrouff went to a drug-induced psychosis. When this happens, a person's mental health temporarily begins to see and interpret the world around them differently. Episodes of psychosis include delusions or hallucinations. Drug-induced psychosis can also trigger the onset of long-lasting psychotic discords in people who are already predisposed to developing them. It's possible that Harrouff was already predisposed before he began abusing illicit substances.
You know, I asked you earlier that there was this theory about flakka, that you had somehow taken flakka. Do you know what flakka is?
Is it a crystal or something? I don't know. So my dad told me it was a crystal or something.
Have you ever taken flakka?
No.
You didn't take it the day of the incident?
No.
Have any of your friends ever taken flakka?
No.
Do you know anyone that's ever taken flakka?
No.
Have you ever seen the drug itself?
No.
Is there any chance anybody could have slipped that drug into your food or into something you drank or poisoned you with it, contaminated you with it that day?
I drank some tea at Duffy's, so I was told. So I don't think they would poison me or anybody would poison me.
Right. Others drank there too, and they had no reaction, right?
Yes.
The running theory for his motive was that Harrouff had taken the designer drug called flakka. Flakka is chemically similar to synthetic drugs that are best known as bath salts or the zombie drug. The drug comes in the form of pink or white crystals that individuals ingest by eating, snorting, smoking, or injecting. Flakka is known to lead individuals into acts of violent aggression and self-injury. Signs of its usage include violent behavior, hallucinations, self-injury, and high body temperature. The University of Florida Health says that use of bath salts, a psychoactive drug, can create a psychosis-like condition in the brain. The signs and symptoms align with Harrouff's behavior the night of the murders. However, Harrouff was not tested until over 24 hours after his admission to the hospital. The teen tested positive for alcohol and trace amounts of marijuana, but tested negative for common street drugs like heroin and cocaine.
Just from your experience, take me through the moment you saw Daniel. What went through your mind when you saw Daniel?
Like when I saw him, it wasn't like a clear person. It was like a dark figure because it was like pitch black outside and I couldn't really see. But I heard his voice distinctly, and like when I saw him, I just got scared out of my mind.
Mm-hmm. But did you know it was him by his, I'm sorry, did you know it was him by his voice or by the visual?
By his voice.
Mm-hmm. But you did see a figure?
Yes.
And what did the voice say that scared you?
Said, "Hey, Austin."
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
He just
said, "Hey, Austin," and I just got scared for some reason. It just like I guess it just scared me to see him, like all of a sudden don't know.
And it's what you knew about him from before that scared you.
Yeah.
He didn't threaten you that night. It's just him being there.
Yeah.
And what did you say to yourself?
I need to find someone to help me, or like figure out where I'm going.
So
I don't really remember what I said to myself. I just remember being afraid and being scared.
So you panicked at that point.
Yeah.
Did you run?
Yeah.
And so you ran down that street, and is that when you saw the open garage door?
Yes.
Do you remember when you took your clothing off? Was it before you saw Daniel or after?
I didn't remember it at first, but I have a faint memory of taking my pants off at some point before I saw Daniel, but like I never realized that my clothes were off later. Like it's hard to explain, you know?
Right. It kind of runs together for you.
Yeah.
On the day of the murders, Harrouff reportedly had some very alarming behavior. It was said that he started his morning with a run on the beach until he found his way to his father's house where he had left his car. His father would not give up the keys, however, until Harrouff had taken a Xanax to calm down.
I said, do you want me to pick you up and take you to your car? He said, I'm fine, stay there. Listen, no matter what I say to you, know I'm protecting you even when you think I'm evil. Nice guys finish last. This is like 9:30 in the morning. And I said, what does that mean? And he says, fuck off. I said, now that's weird. Can you at least tell me where you are? I think I called his dad to say, you know, he said this to me, and he says Dad's boat. So I think I called Carrie, his girlfriend, Wade's girlfriend, and was just trying to see if, you know, was he there? And she said, yes, he's doing stuff on the boat. I'm trying to, you know, have him do things because I think Wade was going there to talk to him. And then I don't know what happened there. She said, you know, they're talking outside, and I guess Wade wouldn't give him his keys, and he got mad, and Wade told me he jumped on the hood, and I guess he finally gave him the keys, and he drove off.
Harrouff drove off and later found himself at a fraternity brother's home. While others participated in drinking and marijuana, Harrouff did not. One of his frat brothers reports that Harrouff was saying he felt godlike. Later into the day, Harrouff went to dinner with his father's girlfriend, and his friend Sam, but soon stormed out of the restaurant after he began to feel trapped.
So anyway, he sprinted for 2 or 3 miles. I witnessed it. Go to the Duffy's, ordering food. I think he did get some iced tea and he drank it. 1 glass of iced tea. Till like he's going to the bathroom and left. Find out he's at home. Mother says, what are you doing? He gets a, she said she's cooking. She looked and grabbed the thing of Wesson and he was going to down it. She goes, stop. And he grabbed the Wesson, put a Parmesan cheese in there, poured it in there, and ate the Parmesan cheese. Okay, she's never seen that before. Then she gave him a ride back to Duffy's. He comes and sits down. And I said, it's going to be on tape today. So I said, what the hell are you doing? And he didn't say nothing. So I grabbed him by the collar and I said, what the hell are you doing? And he goes, and my girlfriend says, Austin, don't. And he looks at my girlfriend, embarrassed.
Running half naked in John and Michelle's garage, Harrouff undoubtedly spooked the woman. Michelle screamed in fear. Reportedly, Harrouff mistook the woman for a witch and became scared. The teen then pulled out the knife he had bought the day prior during a gun show he and his father attended. The events that transpired from that moment on are unimaginable.
So, in looking back, you recognize that there has been a period of time,
Yeah.
weeks, even months, that you have been losing touch with reality.
Yeah.
That you've had paranoia, that you have had ideas of grandiosity, superpowers, being worshipped, godlike sorts of things that have gone on
Yeah.
with you. And this wasn't something that just happened one night. This was something that's gone on with you for a period of time.
Yeah, I guess so.
And should the courts decide that you were in need of treatment, that would be something that you would lean into. You recognize that you need help and treatment, correct?
Yes.
You wouldn't resist that, whether it was neurology in terms of your brain, psychological treatment.
I wouldn't resist that.
And you know that your dad and I are working very hard to get the proper diagnosis here, because putting you in a cage and sitting you over in a corner is not going to heal what ails you. We need to find this out.
In his interview with Dr. Phil, it's obvious that the events of August 2016 unnerved Harrouff. He was uncomfortable speaking about the crimes he had committed and showed obvious signs of guilt for what he had done. He needed help, and the people around him knew that. 2 psychologists were hired by the state and defense respectively, and both had concluded that Harrouff had been suffering from an acute psychotic episode. They found that Harrouff was unable to distinguish right from wrong, meeting the state criteria to be acquitted by reason of insanity. In November of 2022, Austin Harrouff pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. The judge overseeing his trial agreed with the plea and ruled in favor of Harrouff. Harrouff is currently staying in a secure mental health facility until both doctors and a judge come to the agreement that he is no longer a danger to society. Should the trial have gone forward, Harrouff could have faced 2 first-degree murder charges and life in prison.